Hello friends, this is Cara-Renee with B.Reborn Art and Healing. Welcome to Mixed Media 101 episode 2. I am taking a break from doing some of the homemade texture paste, homemade gesso kinds of ideas because I need to just play and I want to get on camera and play with you guys. Also, I thought I would go ahead and use the homemade texture paste that we made last time, and yeah, not gonna work. It is terrible. It's terrible. It's all powdery. So either I did something wrong in the recipe, or it was just I added too much of the baking soda. I don't know. I think in the past when I tried to make homemade texture paste, I made it with powder. So I am still going to come back and do that because I told you guys I would do that, but I was disappointed. I was really bummed that when I went to open this, I couldn't use it. I could probably reconstitute it, but I'm not going to do that right now. So I took out my disappointment on paper off camera. So let me just show you what I made, and I thought we would just have a play at making. You would have already seen the basic or a simple mixed media paper that I did where I used spray inks and stuff like that. Not any three-dimensional texture at all on those papers, but wanted to give you an idea of how to layer up using some paper, gluing it down, pulling it up, leaving kind of a really scrappy look on the surface, and then coming in with stamps and other things. So, but this time I thought we would do some three-dimensional, and I did it different. So typically when I do dimension, I do it with texture paste or modeling paste. Well, I thought, why not take a piece of paper that fits inside of one of my embossing folders and emboss the paper, and this is the result of embossing the paper. This is your, now, so let me back up a second. In addition to the embossing, I also did use embossing paste in addition to it, and I also used crackle paint, but you would not have to. You could totally do this process by just using a piece of embossed paper and doing the steps, minus some of them that we're going to do today, but I'll hopefully give you a thumbs up on which ones you could omit if you just want to do it super basic but still three-dimensional without any texture paste. So this is the one I thought I would make for the Winter Wonder Journal number 2. So you can see this is all this that you see up here is the embossing from the embossing folder. All of this is embossing folder. All of it. Look at that. Is that amazing or what? And look at that postage. And then here, I did come in just with my palette knife and got some texture just by palette knifing out the which I didn't do on this. So we may do that here in a second because I didn't do the crackle paint either. I've got some things prepped, so I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm sorry. So up here, let's see if I can find some crackle. So here's some of the crackle. Okay, you guys can probably differentiate yourselves what you see here. This over here is the texture paste. My monitor's backwards, so it's hard for me to point. So you can see all the crackle. It's absolutely gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous. So that's the first one that I did, and then I also did this one because I'm really trying to bring in some pinks and stuff, but I struggle with it. But I think this turned out okay. So same thing, it's an embossing folder, and then I came in with some texture paste just with my palette knife and the crackle paint. So there you go. Isn't that amazing? So, but because the homemade texture paste is not going to work, I thought I'd pull out this from my stash. This is US Art Supply. I did actually do a video, I think in Mixed Media 101, the first version that I did a year or so ago, and this modeling paste is great, and you can get it on Amazon, and I will link it. I think it was about $14 for this whole thing, which is really good compared to over $30 for the Liquitex. So this is I don't know the math. What is 500 milliliters? I don't know what that equates to in pounds and ounces, but so that's what we're going to use today. So this is so I'm going to set those aside, get them out of my way. So I did go ahead and do another piece of embossing here, and I also did a coat of clear gesso because this paper will absorb a lot of fluid. It's still going to absorb a lot. Let me show you the back of these so you can see what happens. So see this weakened the paper. It's okay because whatever I use it for, I'll back it, but it got very, very wet there, and that's probably where it didn't have a really good coat of the clear gesso to kind of create that barrier. So, and I wanted the clear because I purposely printed on, or did this on my own 65-pound coffee dyed paper. I had done a batch of it because I was doing some textiles, and I thought I would just go ahead and use it and start out with a grungy base. So we have that one, and then we have this one as well as the Mandela. This is a Sizzix 3D embossing folder. This is just the regular embossing folder. It's the same one as I used over there. So, and then I went ahead and prepped this again at coffee dyed paper, but this time I came in and I did the stenciling with the modeling paste. So I used this modeling paste, and it is no different than the Liquitex. I don't know if you can tell. It seems like it's a little bit, it's not as thick as the Liquitex, but for the purposes that I'm using it, it's fine. I did cross over the script on top of that kind of Mandela shape up there at the top, but I just wanted to get some different textures down to really test this out. So before we start working on these, well, before we start adding any paints, actually, we need to go, and this was just, I just wanted to show you the coffee paper. So it's really, really thick. It's 65 pound, and I love this crunchiness. It's my favorite part of coffee dyeing. But anyway, I digress. These are the embossing folders that I used. So I should be able to link all three of those. So I will do that. And so what I want to do now is I want to go in with a little bit of texture paste, kind of with the palette knife, and then some crackle paint. So let me grab a better knife here. When I'm doing stenciling, when I'm doing it with a stencil, I like to use my square, my rectangle one. But when I'm doing more kind of just here and there with this, I like to use the other one. So I'm going to go in with the crackle paint here. This is from Deco Art. I need to order some more. It's getting low. But I love it. It's my favorite crackle paint. It's very predictable. So what I want to do is I like to bring in some of this just to add some patches of places where it's just going to get that grunge, which is what you see here. So this here is texture paste. Well, let's continue with this one so this can start drying. So I'm going to do the same. You know what? On this one, I'm not going to get the modeling paste out. I think this is pretty well covered because of all the stenciling with the modeling paste. So I think I'll set that one aside and let that dry. And I'm going to bring these in, and we're going to add a little bit. Now, oh, I did talk about the clear gesso. Sorry, I have a cloggy head, so brain's not firing. So this is actually kind of dried out. Like I think it needs a good stirring. It is kind of thick, but it's thick in a different way than the modeling paste from Liquitex. It's still my favorite, guys. I don't know, but we're gonna give this a go. I don't need that much on here though. Oh, goodness gracious. And I'm gonna do the same thing. Now I'm gonna try to avoid some of the flowers, kind of like I did on the other one. I don't want to cover up. Oh, that's really thick. I don't want to cover up everything here. I want there to be areas that we can pick up that dimension underneath. So So I think that's pretty good. And I'm gonna grab that wipe again and just wipe that knife off. I'm gonna go in with a little bit of the crackle paint on these as well. And then we will let this dry. So, and I like to overlap these. I know I've mentioned that before. Not a lot. I mean, I want to overlap them rather than take up more of this brown space that is open, because we want to be able to see that texture underneath. So I don't want a lot, again, just a bit here and there. So let's call that good. I'm going to go ahead and let this dry. I'll probably let it dry naturally for a bit, and then I'll come in with the heat tool after the crackle paint starts to crack. I think this sells for about $7.99, $6.99 on decoart.com. And this is only 4 fluid ounces, but it lasts me a long time. So, and the way it works the best is if you do let it start to crackle on its own, and then you can speed it up with the heat tool. So I will be back. Okay, here we go. So everything is pretty dry, not probably completely, but I feel like we can move along. So this is the big one with our crackle and our, I don't know if you guys can tell, where you just see white and no crackle is the modeling paste, which is kind of intermixed with it, so it's kind of hard to tell, but you'll get the effect when we, or get the point when we start moving along. This is the one I want to do using the Payne's Gray, and then I pulled out this kind of a lighter slate blue, because I wanted a lighter color in it, and I was struggling with that when I was playing earlier. And then on the other one, I came in with the silver, kind of with my finger, not over the top, but actually I think I used a brush and some water. So I got these big patches. Let me just show you what I mean. I got these big patches of silver, which I didn't really care for. So I'm going to do that differently. And then this one, I'm going to kind of go, oh, that one's really cool to the touch. We need to wait on that one. Is I'm going to kind of do different colors on different pieces. So this one's going to be for the Winter Garden Journal. This is probably going to be another one for the Sweet Yvonne Journal, more in those tones. Maybe, well, probably not. I don't have those paints out because I'm struggling with those colors. I'm struggling so much with those colors. So, I mean, we could give it a go. Let me just reach behind me and find that Titan Green Pale. And maybe we'll get like the sap green hue, and we can maybe mute that out and see if we can get some, and maybe this Naples yellow hue. Let's try that. Let's reserve that one for the Sweet Yvonne Journal. So I'm going to set that one aside because it is a little bit cool to the touch still. This one seems to be pretty okay. So let's start with the big one. The big one, I'm going to go with my favorite colors, which are turquoise and brown. Turquoise and brown. So let's do it. I'm going to bring my water over here a little bit closer and get my towel, and I need to grab some paper towels because we're going to get messy now. I'm just going to wheel my cart over here by my table. There we go. Alrighty. Here goes nothing. Alright, so what I like to do, especially working this big, is to go ahead and just spritz the whole surface with some water. That's going to help everything kind of move as soon as it hits the surface. So I think I want to actually start with the Nicolezo Yellow as kind of a good base starting place. So we're going to just drip some of that on there. this is going to happen in layers, guys. That's what mixed media is layers. Layers, baby. So again, just moving it around. I think I want a little bit more of that Nicolazo yellow, excuse me. And again, as I mentioned in my other videos, you do not have to have fluid acrylics. You can use craft acrylics, is just fine. This is just what I have because they're my favorites. Oh, this is beautiful. Wow. Even if I do say so myself. Why didn't I get anything up in that corner? A little bit of water. You don't want a lot of water, just enough to kind of move it along, and it also helps your paint to go a little bit further. A little bit more of the Nicolazo, quinacridone Nicolazo gold, if I could speak. A little bit of water. Now on my, when I played earlier, I used some inks, some acrylic inks from Amsterdam and Daler and Rowney, and they were very opaque, and I didn't like it. So I definitely tend and lean towards more opaque colors. So, and what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and just bob back and forth between these different bases. So I'm going to set this one over on the side and let it dry naturally a little bit before we come in with some beautiful turquoise. Maybe we won't do a glaze. We'll have to see. You know, I always say that and then I do it anyway, so we'll see. Isn't that gorgeous though? I hope you guys can see that. Now it's made the paper very, very wet, and so it does stay pretty soft, I guess is what I would call it. It's very soft. So I'm going to wipe this up just because I don't want to transfer any of this anywhere. And there we go. I'm going to stick my water back in there and move that paint out of the way. And let's bring over this one. This was the one I wanted to do with the blues. So same thing. I'm not gonna come in with the glaze on my. When I was playing, I came in with the glaze first on top of this texture, but I don't think I'm gonna do that. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, it's where I come in with my raw umber fluid acrylic and some fluid matte medium. I make a mix that creates a glaze that you can put over the surface. It causes your paint to go into the crevices, and you can you can remove it from the top surface. It's really, really, really satisfying. Very, very cool. So I think I'm going to start with the lighter blue. This is a slate blue. It's not my favorite. I don't care for these really, really cheapy acrylics, but again, I got spoiled. So did I spray that? I did. I got kind of spoiled with my fluid acrylics, and so I just, yeah, I'm a little brat that way. So, oh, I've got yellow on that brush. I need to get a new one. There we go. Let's just move this around a little bit. Ooh, that's a pretty color. That's going to go well with the winter journal. I'm losing interest in it though, so guys, I'm trying to not drop it and put it off till next year. So I'm going to keep working on it and just keep incorporating things that I do in video to make more for that project. So there we go. Awesome. Okay. And now let's go ahead and bring in some Payne's Gray. This was super dark before, so I think I'm going to grab some white because I think it's a little bit too bright. I'm going to tone it down a little bit. This has not been opened yet. I just have been starting to invest in the larger bottles because I go through so much of it. And it works really well if I just get a paper towel or something and just pierce that and then just pull that plastic out. That's what works the best for me. So I think what I'm going to do is mix a little bit of this on my mat here instead of putting it direct to paper. So I'm just going to go in with my baby wipe and just dab. Okay. You just want some dark passages of color. Oh, that's so beautiful. I'll hold this up for you. We are going to need to do a glaze though, which means we'll have to layer up these blue colors again. I'm not going to wipe it up. You're not going to wipe it up, Cara-Renee. You're going to be responsible and grab some scraps. Actually, I have some coffee dyed paper scraps right here. Let me just grab that. So let's just pat that in there. Get some color. Yeah, all works. It's kind of cool. Okay, now I can feel I can wipe it up. So I'm going to set this one aside as well. It's very, very wet. And then we're going to go into this one, which was, what were we doing? Oh, that we're going to try the B.Reborn journal colors, or not. They're not specific colors I'm using, but they're definitely not my typical colors. So I think I'll go in with, debating on this if I want to do a glaze on this one just to show you. I think I'm going to do that. There's no failures, you guys. If this didn't turn out and I'm like, oh man, I wish I hadn't done the glaze, I always end up loving it anyway. So there's no right or wrong. I guess if I could help you understand that one thing, I will have won something here. So I'm just going to go over this with a raw umber glaze, and that is 1 part paint to 2 parts of fluid matte medium. You can also use glazing medium. I have used that in the past. This brush is really hard, so I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to try to clean this one off because that's way too rough, and it can affect the texture that we've put down. So I'm glad we did that. I'm going to be happy with that. So I'm going to let this dry as well. So let's get that other one over. I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and take a moment and dry this, because look at, oh, I did not gesso this one. Oh my goodness. So check this out. I was like, why is it so wet on the back? Look at that. Okay, it's not a deal breaker. It's just going to make it a little bit more fragile. So we're going to continue. So I'm going to take some time to dry all 3 of these, and I will be right back. Okay, I want to show you the difference between the 2 backs. So this is without gesso being applied before I put that texture paste down and all that paint, and this is the same paper, but I gessoed after I did the embossing. Okay, so that's a good thing to remember. It's going to be okay. This is not dry, but it's going to be fine. This one, I feel like I want to go over it with a glaze and let it set it aside and let it dry, because I need some more. I need some brown in it, so I'm going to mix up a little bit more of a glaze here. I'm trying to be more careful with how much I put out, because I tend to always mix a little more than I need. So again, 1 part paint to 2 parts of the matte medium. So I think actually while I have this out, I'm going to go ahead and do my dab in here, and I think I'm going to do the same with this one and then come back with the next layer on that. So I'm just patting this gently. I will go over it, see how that blue is coming back out, but the brown is remaining, and that's what we want. Because again, I love the grunge. I have a hard time doing mixed media that is not grungy, so that's just kind of my way. But when this dries, we'll go in with more of the color, but I want you to see what this looks like. If it can focus, come on. There we go. See the texture? Is that just delicious? I never get tired of this. Ugh. Okay, setting that aside, I'm going to stop swooning about it. So on this one, I do obviously need to mix up a lot more. I want to show you this one before I move it, though. It's pretty dry, but again, same thing. You can see the texture paste that we just slathered on with the palette knife, and then you can see the crackle. You can see the embossed areas in here and here, and the script writing that's in the embossing folder. It's so amazing. Okay, so let me mix up a little bit more. This is going to be fine. There we go. All right, so let me get some more wipes. I just used the last one and just wipe this up. Not as much of a waste as what I had before. You know, sometimes it takes watching someone else or hearing someone else's story or just being cognizant that other people, you know, these things are precious to them because they don't have the means to just get them. And so I've really been checking my heart and my thoughts about that of late. So I don't know if you guys can see the benefit of having done it this way. So we still have our grunge of our brown, right? But we're also seeing that layer of the yellow and the gold and the quinacridone Nicolazo gold and the Nicolazo yellow underneath. So I'm going to hold this up so you can see. So in my opinion, there's like not a right or wrong way to do this. Okay, the only right or wrong, just since we're doing Mixed Media 101, oh, I'm going to wipe some of that off. Look at that. Woo! Woo! That's cool. Again, I never get tired of it. I never get tired of it. The only time you have to be super, or you have to be more careful, more cognizant, is when you're using water reactive mediums. So if you're using distress oxides, distress oxide sprays, distress sprays, not this the distress stains are permanent once they're completely dry. But everything else in that line is all water reactive. Watercolors, water reactive. Watercolor crayons, water reactive. All the Tim Holtz products in terms of the crayons and all that are all water reactive. So they're okay to use, but you have to understand that if you put another layer on top of it, you're going to be moving that color underneath because it is not going to be solid. And that's why I love to use acrylic inks and acrylic paints. I do use the sprays, and I think they're fun, which is I use the sprays in the other mixed media paper video. So, but look at this. I mean, it's just, there are no words to describe it. Look at that texture. And see how the raw umber goes into the crevices of that texture, even into the holes. Look at that one right there that I'm getting as close as I can to. Look at that. I mean, and that raw umber paint goes into those holes and makes those dark. Oh. So now we are so wet that I need to take a break and dry again, and I'll be back. Okay. I think we can move along. This is so fun. I think I'm going to set that one aside. Well, I don't know. It's my favorite, so I think I'll go with it. Let's do the next layer on this one. Oh, everything's such a mess right here. Look at my hands. Just had my nails done, but there. Oh, there's my thumbs down. Why does it give me a thumbs down when I make movements with my hands? So now what I want to go in with is some of the cobalt turquoise, because I love that combination. And the reason why obviously I dry is because I don't want, I might get some bleed and some blending because it's not probably completely dry, but I don't want it to kind of move all the colors. So this is the cobalt turquoise. This is one of the colors I sent to Rhonda because it's one of my favorites. It's just, it is epic color, epic color. So I'm just going to put a little bit there on my mat. I'm going to get my round brush again because I'm really, really favoring that soft tip that I'm getting here. And I've got a towel here in my hands as well. It kind of helps to keep things clean. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of water on that and then mix it up, and then we're gonna just start putting it down. So I'm going to get a baby wipe, and I'm just going to kind of move this color a little bit, or lighten it, or just kind of try to affect it a little bit. You can kind of transfer it with the baby wipe a little bit. It's staying pretty stationary, so I'm loving that color. So we do need to let this layer dry before we try to come in. What I want to do is come in with probably some more of the Nicolazo Gold and some brown, and then an unwatered down amount of the turquoise. So I'm going to set that over there. And then let's go ahead and do something on this one, because we've kind of been ignoring the Sweet Yvonne piece here. So what do we want to do? I think I want to go in with the Titan Green Pale. It's very, very pale. You know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take a moment and grab some craft acrylic. Just a moment. Actually, I'm really, really loving these two colors. This is Americana Deco Art, Green Lagoon, and then Golden Straw, two of my favorite colors. So I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit of this. So I'm going to spray this, and then I'm going to drop some on. I think I'm just going to use my fingers today on this one. Whoa. There we go. Just kind of apply some of that paint. So none of this kind of color is never going to be very transparent. It's always going to be more opaque than other colors, no matter what line of paint you're using. So that's just something to keep in mind. It's a more opaque color because it's a mix. So I'm loving that, loving that. So let's go in with a little bit of the straw. Try not to mix it too much. So I'm gonna just drop some of that on there as well. If it's not plugged up, it probably is. Give it a shake. That might have been my problem. There we go. Come on. This is a color scheme I would not normally do, so I'm experimenting here. These base layers are not going to matter a whole lot, because once we start doing the stuff on top, it's just going to be, it's going to be amazing. Okay. I like that. I think that's just fine. So I feel like it needs something else. What does it need? What other color did I pull for that? The Titan Green Buff. I don't think that's going to fit here, but we're going to try it. Let's just try it and see. Oh man, that was a lot. Goodness gracious, Cara-Renee. Shameful. I have some great paper here with all this extra paint. Oh my goodness gracious, that's terrible. It's okay, let's just kind of try to pat some of that up. And then we're going to go in with more of that Green Lagoon color and more of the yellow. is really actually pretty. Not what I expected at all. And I love the dark passages underneath. I think that's what really gets me and attracts me here to this particular color scheme here. So yeah, I think that's going to be fine. So let me add some water to this so I can clean it up. I'm going to grab another something. Let's just use this brown one. There we go. Not a whole lot there. Okay, so feel like I think we're going to dry this one though, and actually let me take a moment and dry all 3 of these again, and then I think we're almost to the last layer, so I will be right back. Okay, so when I went to dry these, I realized I hadn't come back and put more of the Payne's Gray and that other blue on, the slate blue. Look at that. Oh my gosh. I mean, I want to turn it so that you can see the texture. It's like amazing. So that is dry. That one is actually done, other than our final using my finger with some silver to go over the top. I really want to go dark with this, but I'm not going to. I'm going to sit with this, and I'm going to come in with probably the gold, iridescent gold fine, and put that on that top layer. This one I do want to bring in a little bit more of the cobalt turquoise, as I mentioned before, so I'm going to move those 2 and get this into view a little bit better, and come in with a little bit of the turquoise and a little bit more of the Nicolezo yellow, I believe. Okay, so we'll let this go for now and work on the other 2. I'll just let this dry before we come in. On this one, I'll probably come in with the iridescent gold fine, but look at that. It's just so absolutely, I mean, I don't have any more words. I have no more vocabulary for how I feel about this. It's just so amazing. So there we go. So let me wipe my hands off before I go into either of these with my dirty hands transferring paint. Maybe go take a bath and just soak and get this all off my skin. Okay, there we go. I didn't use the yellow. Doggone it. Do we want that yellow? I think we do. I completely forgot. Oh my goodness. I should be thinking about bed right now, and I'm not. So I'm just going to get that back over there, and let's go in with a little bit of the Nicolezo yellow. Just a little bit, not a lot. I don't even know. I think it's a good base color. I'm not sure that I'm really seeing it. Oh, there, I can see it's really brightening that area up. Oh, I went into the turquoise again. Goodness gracious. Now we've got turquoise that's wet. That's what's happening there. So I got to avoid the turquoise areas. The new turquoise areas. I think we're going to call that good. Okay. Back and forth, back and forth. I'm just wiping that up. Rhonda, forgive me. Rhonda, forgive me, sweet lady. Okay, so let's get these back over here. I need to finish this video. We're over an hour real time, so I want to be cognizant of your time. So I'm going to come in with the iridescent silver fine. It's the same as the gold, just in gold. It's exactly iridescent silver fine, iridescent gold fine. So I don't tend towards silver, but as I mentioned, I'm giving it a try. So we're gonna just go in here, and I just get some on my finger and then just wipe it off, just so I don't get too much. And then you're gonna go over all this texture, and all that texture underneath is gonna pop out. It's just absolutely magical. You could do this with any color though. Any color that you wanted to have be your accent color, you could go over it with that. wouldn't have to do gold or silver like I tend towards. So, oh, this is so cool. This is so wintry and so beautiful. And I love the brown that's coming through. I'm going to hold this up for you here in a second. I just want to make sure I get as much of that texture accented as possible that we created with the embossing folder. Oh man. Oh man. It's a lot of silver, but that's okay. So here you go. Look at that. I'm not going to try to describe it, but see how that top layer just highlights all that texture, the texture from the crackle, the texture from the texture paste, the texture from the embossing. Absolutely stunning. And I do say so myself. Let me add a little bit of water to this silver so I don't have to ask for forgiveness again from my sweet friend Rhonda. She just blessed me so much and just reminded me of how, not that she did or said anything that caused it, but she made me think about how I use my supplies and how I, you know, they were so precious to her, just the tiniest amount she wanted to preserve. So we're going to do the same with this, but we're going to do the gold, okay? Actually, we're not. Hold on. I'm going to do the same technique with my raw umber glaze, my raw umber fluid acrylic, okay, because I want to get a little bit of dark on the top, not a lot though. So this is how you can go in and get that same effect with the color. Oh, this was a good choice. See how we're still retaining those light colors that we created with the green lagoon and the that yellow color, that golden straw. Oh my goodness. Oh, this is amazing. I'm glad I risked it, guys. I'm glad I risked it. Because it's all that other color is underneath all of this. It's a little heavy there, but that's okay. Okay, so we will have to dry this before we do the gold though, because otherwise we'll just be moving this raw umber around, but I'll show you this before I do that. Look at that. Yes. It's the best of both worlds. Some grunge and some lighter colors, so that might be the ticket for me. So there we go. Alrighty. I'm going to zap this one really quick. I'm going to zap both of these, the big one and then this one at the same time, and then come with the final layer of the iridescent gold fine on the top. Okay, here it goes. Let's start with the big one. I'm just going to set that one over there, and I'm going to get a little bit of the iridescent gold fine out here on my mat. Actually, more than a little, because it's going to take a lot more to cover this area. So if you have waxes and that stuff, that stuff works really well for this technique as well. So I'm just going to start here in this corner, and I'm not going to go heavy because I don't want to lose a lot of the color on this one. So, oh my gosh. Now you will get some of the gold down on the base, as you can see here. I'll hold it up and I'll point it out to you here in a second, but you do get down into the base a little bit and lose some of that, but it's okay. Just sharing the love. So beautiful. So again, sorry, might be a little off camera here, but I hope you get the gist of what I'm doing here. I might put this, I'm going to be working on a journal. I think I mentioned it in another video. I'm using some papers from a gentleman that reached out to me, and I'm using a vintage clothing kit, and it's going to be epic. So this would be a great page in it. So we'll see. Okay, so just going to finish off getting this gold up here. Oh my gosh, it's so cool. So cool. Oh my goodness, I'm so glad I did this tonight. I needed it. I mentioned in a previous video, I don't know which you'll see first, so I'll just tell you. My ex-son-in-law was in a tragic car accident on Valentine's night, and he was married to my daughter, my youngest daughter, and did not do her well. They were married about 14 years, had 2 boys, and but they ended up getting a divorce, and he is an alcoholic. So he was drunk and driving and lost control of his car, and then was hit with another car on the freeway, and he is in bad shape. He pretty much demolished the whole left side of his body and has had 3 surgeries as of right now. So to fix his, he broke his tibia, his femur, punctured his lung, had a hole in his aorta, damage to his intestines, and what else? A bad laceration on his head. I think he's got a skull fracture. Doesn't appear to have any brain damage or spinal damage, but so I went up to the hospital to be with her and the boys last night, which because I couldn't go up the day that it happened, and the next day when she found out, because I was homesick. And so so this was a good diversion for me, is what I'm getting at, for me to get messy and do something that I can affect. So this is what this girl looks like. Look at that. It does dull down the turquoise, right? Because we're coming over it with the gold, but I love it. I think it's perfect. And so there you have it. Oh, we have this one to do. This one too. Don't forget me. Don't forget me. Maybe I have enough on here. I don't think so, though. Let's just get a little bit more. Once it gets too thin on you're not really getting anything. You're just moving stuff around. So let's go and do this one. Almost forgot. It's much more subtle because of the colors in the background, but beautiful nonetheless. A little bit more. I think we still have some things wet on this one for some reason. I'm really trying to highlight the embossing so you guys can see that. Just trying to remember where it's at. So anyway, tonight I learned when I was taking some time to dry that they're trying to wake him up slowly. He's been sedated because they needed to get him through the first surgeries, the most critical surgeries. And so he was able to, he's semi-conscious, he was able to see that his boys were there. I don't know if my daughter was in the room with at that point, but so it looks like he's going to survive. And I hope that it woke him up, is all I can say. Oh my goodness, this is very gold. There we go. It's beautiful though. Look at that. Look at that. I love it. Definitely not my color tones at all, but it's beautiful, and I will definitely tap into and explore using colors that I don't normally use, because this would be really pretty with a pink accent as well, like a really pale pink. So guys, I'm going to let you go. It's been 1 hour and 16 minutes. It won't be that in real time, but I will see you in the next video. I'm going to go wash up. Bye-bye.